Facebook question in from Emil asked, I've had a long-term dandruff problem. Over-the-counter shampoos haven't helped. My dermatologist prescribed clobetasol propionate, 0.05%, and ketoconazole, 2%. Using them for a few days eliminates my dandruff, but only for it to return a week or two later. If liquid drips down my head, it leaves red streaks that always get noticed. Is there anything I can do to fix this issue, or am I stuck using this stuff forever? Haven't had a dandruff question before.
Yeah, I think it's still a good question. Something people do deal with.
Yeah.
You know. So I guess I'll just take it in parts. I'm assuming that because he's saying the liquid runs down my head, ketoconazole really only comes in like a cream or in a shampoo.
Okay.
So I'm assuming it's the clobetasol. It can make skin red just because it's a strong steroid. Again, it seems like, I don't know, a little intense to think that like a streak is going down and it's like reddening everything it touches, but I mean, it's certainly possible.
So you said it's a steroid. What does it do?
So steroid essentially is just calming down any inflammation to the area. And when you're using it topically, there's usually some kind of rash or some kind of skin irritation, that kind of thing. So in terms of these two, the functionality of the ketoconazole, because dandruff has been found to technically be like a type of fungus, and ketoconazole is an antifungal, was definitely the one, mainly doing the heavy lifting in terms of it working. I'm assuming he's using the clobetasol in case maybe there's a little bit of just like some just some dry skin in the area, and maybe some dry flakes that are causing it. So he's just trying to calm down any inflammation in the area. Over time, it can thin skin a little bit. The skin on the scalp is very thin, so I don't think it's something you'd notice. But if you're applying, heavy steroids long term to areas of, maybe your arm or things like that, potentially can be of issue. But the clobetasol, if that's something you're going to continue to do, and it does help. It comes in a foam or a spray that can be a lot more targeted to the scalp and not have the running down. So that's just a pharmacy functional thing, is the form.
Okay. And is that something that he would have to talk to his dermatologist about?
Yes. Yeah. And honestly, if they're already prescribing you a solution, that's not like, it's some big ask to switch to the foam. You say what's going on,
Cool.
And so, yeah, I think that's technically it does need cleared up, but it's a very simple, I think, solution to the red streaking anyway. And then the other kind of phrasing is on go. We'll have to use this stuff forever. I would say that you would have that because it keeps recurring and it's recurring so consistently, that maybe not the steroid and maybe not exactly ketoconazole 2%, but you're probably going to have to do something on a maintenance level all the time.
You said it's an antifungal?
Technically is, yes. Yeah. If it's true dandruff and not like dry scalp flakes, dandruff's going to be a little bigger flakes, and it's also can potentially be a little oily or yellow. What's odd is that typically oily skin is associated with true dandruff. And then the opposite end of the spectrum, dry skin, gives you like pseudo dandruff, like that dry flakiness.
Okay.
And it's hard to know which one's which. A dermatologist obviously is going to be very adept at that. But it's hard to obviously do that over, an email. So if we're assuming it's true dandruff, the ketoconazole is still going to be the main thing there. And when you get into some of the over the counters, that's some of the things that could potentially, maybe help with both.
Okay.
So ketoconazole comes in 2% prescription. It's 1% over the counter. So if that was something you didn't want to keep up an appointment every 6 or 12 months with your dermatologist and you're having trouble, you can get the over the counter. And I think to use that once or twice a week ongoing is a good idea. And to make just a couple little pointers in terms of its use, both chronic and, the ongoing after the acute phase, is to make sure you leave it in for like 2 to 5 minutes.
Okay.
2 or 3 to 5 minutes to make sure, give it the best chance to work no matter what you're doing. Because we'll go into a couple other things here.
So that needs time to do its thing.
Yes. Because essentially, you're still, to a large extent, you're putting it on, and then when you're rinsing your hair off, very little is going to stay behind. So if you don't leave it in for a few minutes and allow it to act, kind of, get into the skin for a few minutes, you're most likely just kind of washing it away with not giving it a chance to work. So that'll go for a lot, because I went into some of the over-the-counters. There's a broad statement here, over-the-counter shampoos haven't helped. And the only thing that I would say, and it goes for a lot of things, like as a pharmacist, we see so much like, oh, I swear Advil cold and sinus is like amazing. I swear it worked for me. Well, to me, I don't care about that name. I just look at what the ingredients are on the back.
Right.
And half the time it's like, no, there's way better ingredients than this. It's just the brand name and maybe a little bit of Tylenol in there, or whatever, is just kind of making you feel a little better. But in terms of what you're actually dealing with or whatever, it's not about the name of the product. It's about the ingredients. So my point is, you're going to see a ton of like, I tried Heads and Shoulders, I tried the Selsun Blue, but what it's really about is what's the ingredient. Heads and Shoulders can be different things. It can be can have some ketoconazole, can have zinc pyrithione. The zinc pyrithione is a little milder, and the zinc pyrithione can be used for some of the dryness as well. So that's a good one. So again, what my theme is going to be here is to look at the active ingredients, not the brand names. Okay, turn it around, and then to use these ongoing. And the other thing is, don't when I say use them ongoing, I'm talking once or twice a week. Because if you have, whether it is true dandruff or definitely the dry scalp and hair, washing your hair too often is gonna exacerbate that. So you still want to be at like 3 or 4 times a week, and maybe 2 out of those times using a product ongoing, and see what works for you. So there's selenium sulfide. That's mainly what's in Selsun Blue, or they have some other ones too. So that's probably the most effective over-the-counter shampoo in a broad way, but still people are going to respond to different things. We're still dealing with that potential for dry overlap. Then there's coal tar, Neutrogena T-gels. That's where you're going to see that, is again, looking at the coal tar. So for occasional use, I think that's okay. It has been shown to be carcinogenic. It is, I believe, banned in Europe. So,
really?
Yeah, but again, you're applying this. The reason with coal tar, it's sourced from.
Is it literally what it sounds like?
Yes, it's a byproduct of coal production. So, what happens though is it was used more often, or even in the compounding lab, for like psoriasis. For people not getting relief maybe from their general steroids or whatever they were using. Okay. So it was going on large quantities of the elbow in higher strengths, and very often in large areas where there could be some systemic absorption. Applying it to your scalp via a shampoo twice a week, lower strength scalp, they're not really going to absorb into the bloodstream from the scalp, I would say is very likely to be safe. Okay. But it's still something just to be aware of. But again, I would recommend trying these different over the counters because you're not liking having to do the he's not liking to have to do that the steroid and the ketoconazole all the time. Yeah. So the other thing I found from like more of a natural side, tea tree oil. And you can get it in shampoo form, so it's a little lower strength. You want to use like pure tea tree. Yeah. And then apple cider vinegar, 1 part apple cider vinegar, 1 part water, and you kind of just spray that in your hair. Yeah, the vinegar, I'm assuming the acidity is what can damage the actual dandruff, it being an organism. So that was another one, that I found. So I think, again, the theme is look for the ketoconazole over the counter 1%. See if doing that once or twice a week helps. Selenium sulfide, Selsun Blue, look at doing that, same amount of times a week. And then if it's still not working, do something maybe a little more alternative in the sense of the coal tar salicylic acid. You can look at those. There's even a product called Cosalic that combines the two. Which I think could be a good option. Zinc pyrithione is going to be a good one if maybe you are leaning towards it's possible that it's from the dryness. And that one's pretty mild as well. That one you could even do more like 3 or 4 times a week because it is very mild. And then look at some of the apple cider vinegars. That's a good one to do at night. Yeah. If you do it during the day, you potentially can smell like vinegar a little bit. Yeah, I would imagine. Tea tree oil is a pretty strong scent too, so that could be a night one. So coconut oil too. If you're a little more concerned about the drying. So
I've used tea tree oil on zits. Mm-hmm. It works phenomenally.
Yeah, it's still zits are still there.
It's true. Yeah. Look, zits are a real problem.
Such an 80s word. That's great.
What do you call it now? Acne?
Pimples?
Okay. Zits. This is gonna be a funny episode, kids. Brace yourselves.
So yeah, I
hopped back in for the zit.
Yeah, I'm really glad you did.
So I know there's a lot of different directions there, but again, I just think that
it's a bunch of good options.
Once you get over the acute phase, there should be no reason why literally it's coming back in a week or 2. That's pretty intense. So that means these are topicals. You've got to stay medicated. You've got to try different options. Don't just say, I tried a dandruff over the counter shampoo. Dig deep. What's the ingredients? What works for you over time? Be aware of the drying issue. That maybe what's come back is the drying because you shampooed with this medication for 5 days a week.
Okay. All right. There you go, Emil.